Hello, and welcome to Hangar Ready, our first episode. I'm JC, your primary host, and this is the very first episode that we've ever done this. We do a lot of testing, but this is the culmination of months and months of work. With me tonight are Jolly '01 and Numidius and Shepherd. And we're going to be discussing a number of things that are on our minds as Star Citizen. Now, what you probably don't know is that I am the leader of one of the largest exclusive organizations in Star Citizen. And along with me are ADI members tonight. We're going to have some folks on over the coming months that aren't in ADI, but we're going to look at Star Citizen gameplay from a different perspective. We're going to look at it from an organized, logistical, controller centric, not this theory crafting, not trying to figure out how we're going to run an Idris by ourselves or any of that silly nonsense, but really focusing in on organized teamwork based gameplay. And so, we're going to, why we do that, we're going to start off. RSI released a new ship this week and, started to announce the new ship release. It's going to be in 3.7. And it's called the RSI Mantis. And let's kind of talk about what we think that's going to do for the rest of the game. Jolly, what are your thoughts on the RSI Mantis?
The question is, is it needed in the game? And actually, I think it is. Not everybody's got a key in being the piracy, and I bet piracy is going to happen in the game, but it's a key point in the game, in my opinion. I don't intend to participate in piracy, but without it, it's going to become a pretty bland game itself. So having it out there is good for the game overall. Even if you don't care for it or being snagged by it, it's still something that should be in the game.
I agree completely. And I think that it has, from our operations perspective, it definitely has a value. While we wouldn't use it to pirate people, I definitely see how you could use it defensively to keep people from being able to QDT right into the middle of your formation. And also to, if somebody comes in and attacks you, it keeps them from being able to run away real quickly, right?
Yeah, I'd agree. Part of the idea, you could use this as a trap. In other words, if you have the numbers in your favor and you're trying to prevent a hit and run, the hit's still going to occur, but the run is not. And now you have the opportunity to go ahead and counterattack.
Yeah, completely agree. Nam, what are your thoughts on the Mantis?
The main thing for me was it is more of a piracy tool, but like Jolly said, we need that. We need things we're not going to have. They have to be a full game. You have to have all the mechanics there, even the ones you're not going to make use of. And I think it's a lot more limited, I'm thinking, as far as with the ranges they're given and all that. It's going to be a lot harder to lock down an area than people think. Because add in the fact that the planets and areas are rotating, and then eventually we're going to be having orbits. It's not going to be as simple as saying I'm going to set up this trap between point A and point B. Point A and point B are going to be moving.
I agree completely. I think that if you're thinking that the Mantis is going to have a 20 to 30 kilometer dampening zone, it's going to be really easy to bypass blockades with just a single one of these. Shep, you run our capital fleet team in ADI, and so this ship probably means the most to you. What are your thoughts on the new RSI Mantis?
Well, to jump on what everybody else has said, I share the same concerns of everybody. I see good things about it. I see bad things about it. The good things about it are obviously if we are executing bounties, for example, and we have a good idea of where certain players are going to be, we can set up a trap using one or many mantises to catch the target player that we're hunting a bounty for. But you would need several. Like, it wouldn't just be one lone ship out there. You'd probably want like 3, 4, 5 to cast a net in a certain high traffic area in order to actually snag somebody. Because as you said, space is a big place. Each one of these things is only going to have a limited amount of range to it. And you're also going to need some significant backup. Like if you're going to do something like this and you pull somebody out of quantum, the way the game mechanics are right now is you are going to pull that guy out of quantum plus whoever is traveling with him. So you can't just expect to go with a single Mantis, right? And pull somebody out of quantum and expect to make it out okay if you're going to pull out an entire fleet. So you got to know who you're targeting, who they plan to be running with, and then you have to plan your escort ships accordingly if you're going to do something like this. Those are some of the good things that you can do. The bad things are obviously pirates are going to be out there, in some cases just trolling people to pull them out of quantum and to interrupt them. In other cases, they're probably going to try to get something out of them. They also know that they can't do this by themselves, so they're going to have some backup with them when they pull you out of quantum. So you got to be ready for that. I would like to see to get some real value out of this ship. I think we need to see a mechanic where you can actually itemize a quantum signature or detect and target a quantum signature to pull that person out of quantum. I would like to see. I think that there's going to be more value than just casting this wide net to try to pull people out.
I'm not so sure I want selectivity. In other words, if you're a pirate and you want to pull something out of a quantum drive, you got to roll the dice. That what you pull out is some freelancer by itself, not a flight of fighters. And so if they have selective, well, only pull out these targets that are easy for me to take out, that's too easy to the game. You got to have some sort of risk involved. Roll the dice, find out, hey, I got a nice juicy fell out in my lap, that's great. Or, crap, I better start running. That needs to be in the game too.
Sure, that makes sense, and I think you can maybe have the best of both worlds by just detecting a signature. You don't necessarily know how big the signature is or what type of ship is causing the signature. You just see a signature. Is this an Idris or is this a Hornet? I don't know.
Oh no, it's a good point. Size. What was that? Like a large signature. Now is that a whole E, or is that an Idris?
Right.
At least you have an opportunity to give it. That might be some sort of compromise in there. Now, I will point out that there's really two parts. One is the pulling them out of the quantum. In other words, and the range is what little information we've gotten so far out of CI. It's either going to be 10 to 20 clicks, somewhere around that, where I'll pull you out. But there's the dampening where I prevent you from quantuming, and that they're looking at more closer to 2 clicks. So it's a matter of I can pull you out of your quantum travel, but I got to get to you now before you get the chance to re-engage quantum and get the heck out of there. And it's getting within that 2 kilometer range for actual dampening is going to be a good part of the game also, which means that rather fragile ship has got to get close to its target. And if the target's able to defend itself, good chance of taking it out.
What was that?
Okay, sorry about that, guys. Having a little bit of audio difficulty there with Shepard and with Namidius. We can't figure out why. But Jolly and I seem to be doing great. So
am I having
we're
desync?
okay. They're saying your audio is slightly desynced, but they can't figure out why. Hey, Joni, can you go look at the Skype computer and make sure we're not at 100% CPU? Skype computer. That's not the Skype computer.
Did
that
everybody
keyboard.
miss my good information that I just put out there?
They heard it. They're just saying that there's just a drastic audio delay.
I worked really hard delivering that stuff.
Minimize that and look at the CPU load. Task Manager. Yeah. Sorry, guys. We're running into some technical difficulties. What's the CPU percentage?
Let's take a look at the Discord feed.
What's pretty high?
86%.
Okay, well then hopefully this works better. Okay.
I'm looking at the feed here. It looks like Coal Hunter TTB says, I don't think the orbit is going to be that fast. As everyone spreads out throughout the game, it may not be that bad. And I think that was in response to something that Jolly said about planets, or maybe that was Nomedius, planets orbiting or something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're orbiting. You think he's trying to say that they're orbiting so slow that it's not going to make a difference?
I don't know that that's the case, because right now rotation's enough. I mean, have you ever gone with a group of people, a group of craft, go out, they get to Yela or another planet or whatever, and then somebody else jumps out 30 seconds later. You seen how many kilometers away from you that first group is by the time you get there? Because it's
more
already
than 20.
rotated.
It's
Sure.
more than 20 kilometers. It
So-
doesn't take very much to get past that.
Less than a minute, that 20 kilometers can be cleared by the rotation.
So you're really talking about the rotation of the planetary body and not necessarily the orbit of
Well,
the planet
both
itself
together.
around the sun.
Well, but that's the thing. When you go into orbit around the planet, you rotate with the planet.
That's right.
You stay and it's not physics.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, who knows?
If
Maybe,
someone's sorry, go ahead.
Maybe CIG, implements some kind of a compensator for quantum physics in the game, and you select a spot on the planet that you want to quantum into, and you're just gonna like follow that curve. I don't know. I'm just kind of.
No, but that's not how it works. That's the thing.
These numbers we're quoting out right now are kind of based on the articles. We haven't even gotten the Q&A yet where they're actually asking these questions. And there's very vague wording in there. That 2 kilometer range for the hold seems rather short to me, especially when that's inside the range of weapons already, a lot of your weapons. And
right.
and they also said that 10 to 20 kilometer sphere, it's said that was where it started. We don't know how big it gets.
Well, I gotta think that, I mean, CIG, Chris Roberts has been, really harping on the fidelity of all this, and if he's harping on the fidelity of planetary rotation and orbits, they got to be thinking about this, or somebody somewhere has been thinking about this already, and has some way of planning for it in maybe a later release or something, or a second iteration of the interdiction mechanic.
Well, the 2,000 meters, and the precise wording is maybe somewhere around 2,000 meters. And that came from CI. Okay, so at least it's a good source to work with.
Very big.
No, it's not very big. It's well within range of most weapons too. But I think that's intentional. But it's the difference between I'm pulling you out at 10 to 20 clicks versus you can't quantum, I'm sorry, at 2 clicks, or maybe it's 2.5, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, even at 20 clicks, you might be able to get away if you're fast enough on it. So, I mean, I'm not worried about that. Okay, we're getting reports all the audio is good now, except potentially Shepard. But anyhow, back on to what we're talking about. So the one thing I want to broach is I watched this video, and I'm going to have Joni or Jaglin switch over to it real quick, called the... and we're going to show this. This video is by a guy named SaltE, and we'll put this in the notes.
SaltE. That sounds
SaltE. We're not
so
going to actually play any snippets from his video. We're just going to show this here real quick. His complaint, and he goes into this very detailed complaint, and I wish we had audio queued up and ready to go, and that's my fault.
Wait. A guy named SaltE that's complaining.
Yes, I know.
I don't understand what's happening here.
But his frustration is that he can't have this in every one of his little fighters. He specifically says, well, I'm in a saber and I'm beating up on this cutlass. Why can't I dampen his ability to QD or quantum away? And it's this is the perfect example of crazy people on the internet. And, this idea that every ship should be able to do everything. I mean, is this not just absolutely ridiculous?
It is. And I'll look at the Valk when it came out. Okay, great ship. Love it. Fly it all the time. The complaint was it can't carry one SKU, but it can carry vehicles. And I admit that didn't make sense. And RSI, they made a small change to it. Threw a few SKU in there you can carry on it. It's not a cargo ship by any stretch of the imagination, but a couple things in there. But folks I want that one ship that knew everything. And we're not going to get it. Or should we get it? Or if you want something to do everything, like go buy an Idris Plus or something bigger than that. Yeah, then you get a lot of variety going on. But if you're looking at especially if you're looking for a solo ship capable of doing all the tasks that are out there, no, that's not it. I'm glad it's a specialized ship, and only a specialized ship actually has that trait. That's a good thing for the game.
I agree completely. It's just absolutely ridiculous that you think, I mean, he is the antithesis of the kind of people we don't play with. And that is the whole purpose of this, it's a great ship. And the fact that it is a specialized ship, and hopefully they'll eventually release one or two other variants that have this capability. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it won't be RSI. Maybe they'll release a Crusader Industries ship or
Drake.
a Drake ship or something like that that can compete to it. Now, I would agree with that sentiment. But this thought that you should be able to load, every module onto your sleek fighter and be a Swiss Army knife of death is ridiculous. I mean, it's just group play anyone. I mean, if you're going to be a pirate, you got to get some crew on your pirate process. You can't do everything via one ship. You got to spread the love around. And, it's just ridiculous what these guys are talking about and complaining about. And I think the Mantis is going to change gameplay, but I think it is. Here's my honest assessment. I think that it is much less impactful than people are making it out to be. What do you guys think?
I would say there's been nothing we've heard up to this point that says that this is in fact going to be a model exclusive feature. They've implied in the past that interdiction is something some ships could do. I would agree it'd be silly that every ship could do this, but we've seen nothing so far to say that they're not going to have this being a module, something that would be added to some ships, like say a Connie or something of a decent size. Take tractor beams. Just because the Argo SRV came out, it doesn't mean that tractor technology is restricted to certain craft or just that one. Tractor beams are going to be on some vehicles, but not all.
Sure, but you shouldn't expect that your sleek fighter that is all about cutting stuff up is going to be able to do all of these other specialized features. I mean, that's the thought, hey, why doesn't this ship have it? Or why doesn't that ship have it? His argument was this should be a module that you could put in every ship.
Yeah, see, I think every ship needs to have a fallacy. It needs to have a weakness. The exception may be the large capital ships. I get why something like that has all encompassing, but you got to have a weak point in every single ship that's out there. I just talked about the Valk, and I love the Valk, but in a space fight, it ain't that hot. That's not what I'd really want to take in there. Now, if you're talking about another ship that could use that technology on it, it's not there yet. And I can see this one being developed, but a bounty hunter ship that has that device on it. That would make sense to me if they want to come up with a second one. Because as far as I know, the Mantis is not a bounty hunting ship.
Yeah, you just have to weigh things. I mean, this idea that the Saber, which is a top line fighter, I'm sorry. I was looking through this and, most of this stuff was pretty bland. Everybody's kind of poo-pooing it, but this guy just went off the deep end and I wanted to rant about it a little bit. So, Nam, do you have anything to add about Crazy Salty?
Just only that he was saying that it should be for somehow or another. He equates that it should all be able to be done solo, and there are some things in this game that some professions or maybe certain aspects of a profession that there just can't be done by one person.
Well, right. This is the guy that is sitting in his chair in front of his computer, imagining taking and putting AI blades in every gun turret on a hammerhead and flying it around and winning every engagement that way.
Right.
That's the kind of logic here. Go ahead, Shep, I'm sorry.
We have to take a look at a couple things. First of all, the entire game was designed as an MMO RPG. It's a massively multiplayer online RPG. Chris has said that he's going to have some single player fun elements in there, but the purpose of this game is to get on with your friends, coordinate, plan, and have a good group experience, not just, having a ship that has everything on it and you just mash the easy button and you could do all things by mashing the easy button. I think people who think that we should be able to do that should probably ask themselves, are you really having fun just mashing an easy button by yourself all day in a game? I mean, I think if most people think about it, they'll decide that they're not having as much fun as they could be.
Yeah, but griefers, you know, this is the kind of griefer mentality, in my opinion. I want to be able to interdict ships and keep them from running away so I can kill them.
Right.
And do it all by myself. This would be, you know, if this guy showed up to do an onboarding at ADI, that would be this gigantic red flag that we'd say, thanks, no thanks, you're not a good fit. So,
I would say that there's a little bit of functionality there for single operators. It's called EMP. It's not
Sure.
it's not as effective as this, but nor would I expect something on the smaller scale to be as effective. But it takes a little skill, and they could use it to keep somebody from running away.
They could, but EMP affects you just as much as it affects them. If you're not playing with the group and coordinating, what good does it do you?
True enough.
You know, by the time your systems recover, theirs are almost recovered and out of there.
And that brings up another good point. I mean, can you imagine having an EMP style Avenger? I'm not sure. I think it's called the what's the name of that ship again?
The
Warlock. Yeah. Can you imagine having like a Warlock and a Mantis combo where the Mantis is sucking people out, interdicting them, and then the Warlock, discharges EMP, and then oh my God, the rest of the fleet jumps in, and you're all dead in the water. I mean, it takes a lot of coordination to do that.
Yeah, especially because you have to keep that distance from the Warlock, so your ships don't, your assault ships are not getting hit by the EMP. I mean, but that's group play. That's, those kind of pirates scare me, but at the same time, I'm not mad because, well, antisocial types aren't very good at grouping together. So.
But it's good to be scared. Like, that's the whole point of the game. You need that element of being scared so that you can have a good time. You need the element of being scared so that you can plan out, whatever it is you're doing, because you got to worry about all this stuff. If you didn't have to worry, that's where the fun comes from. If you didn't have to worry about all that stuff, this would just be, would you rather do that or just mash an easy button all day for an hour and a half and then, okay, I'm done? It doesn't seem right to me.
I completely agree. This is the right way to look at it. So let's move on to our next topic, which is going to be even more, controversial than this one. And that is my favorite topic of all time. Fool's Gold, AMD hype train. So,
oh boy.
I know this one is
Here we go.
People are going to be writing nasty letters over this. So here is my point of contention. If you are building a gaming PC, and if you're playing Star Citizen, you should be building a gaming PC at some point. But if you're building one today for the purpose of playing games, you should not buy an AMD CPU, and for sure not an AMD GPU. That it's all a hype train. Intel today, across the board, is the better purchase dollar for dollar.
But why, Jay? AMD has all these cores. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well,
all these cores mean more speed, right?
Well, they do if the process that you're running is multi-threaded. But the game, no matter what they tell you, is not truly multi-threaded. It is still single core speed bound Star Citizen.
But come on, Jay, if I've got 5 cores and they're 5 gigahertz each, I've got 25 gigahertz of power running this game, don't I?
Yeah, sure, theoretically, but not with Star Citizen where only one core gets used for a large chunk of the game.
Aha, and now we get to the crux.
You tell me then that Star Citizen, when it's live and done, is still going to be single thread?
On the game client, unless they completely rewrite the game client from the ground up between now and then, yes, which they won't.
But don't forget, guys, we're talking about building a PC right now. If we had to build one right now.
Yeah. The next generation of AMD, AMD is really close. There are definitely, let me be very clear, there are definitely use cases where buying an AMD makes sense, just not for a purely gaming PC. If you are going to spend 8 hours a day doing video editing on DaVinci Resolve, or you're going to go and spend, all you do all day long is, high-end compiling of difficult code as a programmer, AMD makes sense. There's lots of use cases for it. But if you're building a computer to play computer games, right now your only choices in CPU are Intel, and Intel, dollar for dollar. The performance just is not there quite yet on AMD. you're going to say, oh, but look at these benchmarks. Well, there are two things to understand. First, if every YouTube channel and every website that reviewed hardware could get by without AMD ad revenue, then they wouldn't be setting up horse races to make it look like AMD is so close or winning in some cases. Synthetic benchmarks, AMD can compete, but in real world benchmarks of games like Star Citizen and Star Citizen, and we know this from the telemetry page that CIG is kind enough to show us, and we know this from the real life usage of Star Citizen and other games that are core bound, a single core bound, that we know that you get better performance. And so it may not be a lot better performance, but on a fairly high end system, a 9600K is outperforming a 3700 AMD with the same graphics card day in and day out by almost 7 to 10 frames per second. That's a fairly big margin. It's not going to kill you unless you want to run 4K or something.
And that's the ultimate reason why you would buy a CPU, right? Not necessarily on itemized benchmark metrics, but the end result of better frames per second, because we can, in many cases, you're going to see higher benchmarks on AMD in some specific tests that they run. But when you put these things into the end gamer's experience, Intel comes out, just like you said, 7 to 10 frames per second, and that's what really matters. These little benchmark metrics don't really matter if it's not going to give you a tangible result in the end.
Well, real quick, Jay, you said something pretty important. Dollar for dollar, okay? AMD chips are less expensive than Intel chips. In fact, the i9-9900 is about twice as much as the R7 2700. So, does that double the price of double the cost worth it?
No. Well, here's the thing: you got to remember that a 2700 doesn't compete with a 9900.
No, it does
a
not.
2700 competes with a 9500 or a 9400 in a lot of cases on Star Citizen, or 9600. So, when you compare motherboard prices plus CPU prices on AMD, and then you compare motherboard prices and CPU prices on Intel is a better build dollar for dollar. So sure, you may end up spending $50 more on your Intel CPU game, but it's going to run significantly better to offset that increase in price. And we're not talking hundreds of dollars. We're talking $20 to $30 to $50 difference.
So that brings up another question, though. I mean, a lot of the people that are watching this are probably asking themselves, "Okay, fine, Jay, but or fine," and maybe Nomadius can answer this because I know he's got a lot of experience here. But a lot of people are going to be asking themselves, "But look, if the CPU has the same clock speed, shouldn't it perform the same?" And there are so many other metrics that you have to look at, like L2 cache, L3 cache, all these other things. So, Nomadius, why, if an AMD CPU and an Intel CPU are both the same clock speed, why would one perform better than the other one?
Like you said, there's various other factors beside that. The memory, the memory in play. The other thing I want to say, as far as we're always using the 9900K as that's the high end there. When it's kind of that thing's an oddity, really. For when it comes for just purely gaming, there's not a lot of difference between that and a 9700K, but there's a significant difference in cost there. So really, when a lot of times I'll be looking at like the 9700K when it comes to comparisons. The 9900K is one of those. That's just a flex piece, in my opinion. It's something that somebody says, "Oh, I got that. I got that."
Trophy piece, right?
Yeah,
agree completely. I mean, it's just a 9600K is a great gaming CPU, especially if you get a decent air cooler or a decent all-in-one. We're not talking about crazy builds or anything like that. What we're saying is that a $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 computer can kick butt and take names. And you should save, in a lot of cases, you should invest in your graphics card instead of in CPU.
Mhm.
You know, that a 9600K properly overclocked is, for most gaming situations, is going to perform so much better than combined with a grade up in graphics card from what you're anticipating. That's probably the sweet spot. So, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to have, kind of building PC recommendations as we go along, as patches come out, and do that. But I'm just saying that as it sits today, there's a lot of people that are on the AMD hype train. Here's the reality. The vast majority of them don't know anything about computers, and they're reading a bunch of websites and watching a bunch of YouTube videos where people are getting paid sponsorships. They're getting ad revenue on their websites, and they wouldn't be getting that ad revenue if they did not make the synthetic benchmarks look like a horse race. And the reality is that we see in telemetry better frames per second for similarly priced Intel CPUs than the same or similarly priced AMD CPUs. And that is very clearly bears out in the technical information, because AMD CPUs do not do well on single threaded tasks as Intel CPUs do. It's just the fact of life. There are 8th gen 8600 and 8700Ks that are doing better on better in Star Citizen today than a 37 or 3800 is doing with the same graphics card.
So TLDR, if you're out there watching this, just get yourself an Intel processor if you're in the market.
Yeah, if you don't know why you need a more cores, if you can't sit and go, this is the specific workload on my computer that I absolutely positively have to have more cores, you should be buying an Intel. And if your thing is, I'm going to stream, no, that isn't one of those workloads. So, really, unless you're doing something professional, like working all day on a computer and doing video editing or 3D rendering or Photoshop work or programming or running tons and tons of virtual machines all day long, and then you game on that PC in the evening, you should be buying an Intel gaming PC, and you should be shooting for a 9600 or 9700K system, and say the extra money that you would have spent on this crazy 9900K F processor, you should save for better graphics cards.
Okay, well, let's find out. What is your CPU?
My personal CPU right now?
Yeah, right now.
Mine's a 7700K.
All right.
What's yours, Jolly? I know you just upgraded.
It's i9-9900, baby.
Yes.
Got a flex.
The trophy guy.
Trophy
Wow.
guy.
That's straight.
Oh,
That's straight. That 2080 Ti with 11 RAM on my
of course you do.
CPU.
Yep. What do you have, Nom?
I have a 7700 like yours, a 7700K. And funny enough is not long ago, I built a 9900K system for my brother-in-law because he insisted on having it.
And you just shook your head at the
Yeah.
wasted money?
I helped him spend his money, and there we are.
What do you have, Shep?
I still have a Skylake, and it's I think that it was the 6600K, right?
65 or 67.
60. Okay, then it's the 65 because I didn't go I have an i5 Skylake, but I have massively overclocked this thing. I've got it all the way up to 4.9 gigs, and thankfully it's water cooled. I don't know how much longer it's going to last under that, but the silicone. I seem to have gotten a good batch of silicone so far. Every now and then I get a blue screen that's totally random, but they're not frequent enough for it to be causing like a significant issue.
I'm running my day-to-day rig is running at 5 gigahertz on a Corsair water cooler.
Yeah, I tried to get to 5. I was inches away from 5, but I was just getting too many blue screens, so I had to clock it back.
Yeah, I'm not getting any blue screens at 5. So I won't. And again, a lot of that is going to be winning the silicon lottery.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't worry about that. A regular K on a decent air cooler, hit the easy overclock button. Get somebody in your group to look at it to make sure there's no crazy settings from the easy button, and you'll be fine. You should be able to play, if with the right graphics card at 60 frames a second, which really should be.
What's the fun about
target.
pushing the easy button? There's no fun in that. I want to push my silicone all the way, man.
I know, but other than flexing, right? Flexing, it really doesn't matter a whole lot. Right?
So, at what point does it matter then? That would be my next question. How fast do you really need to go for it to no longer, or before you get diminishing returns, I should say.
Well, I mean, the thing to keep in mind is that a 5 gigahertz on a 6700K is not the same as 5 gigahertz on a 9600K.
Right.
So that's the first thing is you got to compare apples to apples. And so you get a performance boost for a non-overclock 7700, which isn't a K processor. I'm about 19% faster, 18 to 19% faster on my CPU. Well, that's a pretty wide margin.
Right.
But, the difference between the easy button, which will give you 10 or 14%, and the spending, 2 days tweaking numbers to get it right on the edge of 5 gigahertz, what is that 4% really going to get you on a 5 gigahertz processor? It's not a lot.
Well,
it's just not. It's not worth spending that time to do it unless you're just a maniac and want to flex.
It's just one to flex. It's like a hobby thing. Sorry. Go ahead, Shepard.
I mean, I am a maniac. I'll admit that. I am a bit of a maniac, but I started off at I think the 6500K was started off at 3.5 gigs. So we're talking about a very high percentage. I suck at math, so I can't do it in my head, but.
It's
at least
more than 20%.
That's more than 20% for sure. It's like we're approaching at least 30% increase. But my question is, does that really translate into any tangible benefit into Star Citizen? And I will accept the maniac label if it doesn't. But I'm just curious. I did all this work and I never actually took the time to look at what my frame rate increase was. So
at the end of the day, you're going to perform more consistent frames, and
so less spiking in the FPS.
Yes, that's where you're going to. The smoothing of it is going to be the big issue, and obviously, the higher frame rate you want. So I'm old school. I have awful eyes. I'm old. I only play on 60 hertz monitors. If you're trying to push 4K on 144 hertz, every bit of CPU you can squeeze out is going to be necessary.
Gotcha.
And so, that's really part of it is how many frames. But we can table this and move on to the next subject. And maybe we come back and talk about what's important in getting good frames and good gameplay.
Yeah, that's a good topic.
That would be a great topic for maybe next month.
It's 900.
Yep. So the next thing on our list is, and this one's going to be a little less dramatific, and that is talking about voice servers for Star Citizen. And I'm going to start this off by saying we eliminated Spectrum and in-game chat as a viable alternative because, well, let's face it, it's not that good right now. Well, and that could change. It's also not secure.
In-game voice chat. Okay, VoIP. We have discovered there are instances where that is handy and what we do want. They're darn limited, but they do exist.
They do. And I'm not saying you don't use it, but you can't run operations on Spectrum chat.
You cannot.
It's just not feasible. So we're going to talk about outside of game VoIP setups. And so really, we're going to discuss why you would or wouldn't want to use these. And so the 4 contenders that Jolly and I came up with were Discord, TeamSpeak, Mumble, and Ventrilo. Okay? And Jolly came up with Ventrilo. I didn't want to add that. So Jolly, tell us why you think Ventrilo should even be on this list and who might like it.
I've used it in the past. It actually is, well, first, it is one of the top 4. You can't deny, you can't ignore
Sure,
it just because
but
you may not care
it's
for it.
kind of like saying that it's one of the top 4, and it's like, your dog show is 3, large Great Danes and a little one of those little mini Chihuahuas is number 4.
No, there are others out there I could put that title to besides Ventrilo. But no, Ventrilo, it's very, the user interface is really good. It reminds me a lot of Mumble in terms of being able to establish sub rooms and stuff like that. That's a very good positive that's out there. A lot of people do use it. There's a lot of cons. I find more cons than I can pros, but I don't want to throw it aside saying they just don't use it at all.
But if you're selecting it, here's my argument. When you're looking at a voice server for your organization or your gaming group or whatever you are, the truth is that there's no pros of Ventrilo that the other 3 don't already cover all of.
It is very stable.
Yep.
That's
so
one
is
thing that's good for it.
TeamSpeak, so is Mumble, so is Discord.
Discord, I would not say that about
Well, that's
Discord
true.
at all.
You're right. Ventrilo is probably more stable than Discord, but Mumble and TeamSpeak are both real stable.
Yes, I think they're stable too. It's pluses for them, so I'm not going to knock Ventrilo for it just because that's it's a good user. It has a user tutorial. Not all the software out there has one.
Okay,
now
fair enough.
Most of them are intuitive, but at least Ventrilo with the effort for it. The cons outweigh them. I'm not going to argue that point. First, it's pretty dated. They need to update the darn thing. Newer systems can't really use it as they can the other ones that are out there, but it still should be on the list. And I see why some groups may go to it. Not recommended, but it is an option.
If you were starting from today, though, it wouldn't be the one you'd go to out of the top 4.
No.
Okay. Anybody here think that Ventrilo, if you were starting and needed a voice server for your Star Citizen clan or org, would anybody pick Ventrilo today?
It has a cost to it too.
It does.
Yeah.
It's
the cost is what would prevent most people. In the gaming industry, this is not, especially when you have a lot of players that you're playing with, it really does need to be run like an organization. The problem is we're not generating any revenue to buy like a robust tool set. So we have no choice but to find the cheapest, most effective solution. And the fact that there are other options out there that you don't need to buy a license for would pretty much eliminate anything that would require you to buy a license. So,
well, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk. There's some of these on here that at least have free versions and low enough costs that you could rent a server potentially and run it. Not everybody's in our situation. So let's talk about Discord, because that's going to be, everybody's going to say, well, Discord's completely free. It's not. You're the product. And, but let's pretend with you that it is free. And for small groups, Discord could be a viable option.
Yep.
But the voice on it, when you get 20 people in a room, is a nightmare.
Well, it's more than just 20 of your people. It's 20 of other people who are using Discord at the same time. It's a shared bandwidth across their servers. So,
well, and it's not just that. It's the fact that, it's, that the voice portion of it is not that robust. It just has problems when you get a lot of people in there.
Right, and the primary reason behind that is Discord is a SaaS solution when it comes to voice chatting. And the problem with SaaS solutions is that you have no real control over the back end hardware.
Yep.
It is whatever Discord decides it's going to be. So if you do have problems like that with voice quality and people getting dropped all the time, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And you can get yourself into a pretty bad situation if you are now relying on Discord and they've kind of got you by the balls a little bit. If your entire organization's on it, it becomes really hard to change to a new one, and you're going to wind up in a situation. Well, we're having all these problems, but we can't really switch because everybody's on this, and it's a pain to go to somewhere else. And you put in a ticket to Discord, they're going to say, sorry, too bad, so sad. We're not adding hardware to make your voice experience better.
It's closed. Yeah, Ship's absolutely right. That's a big negative.
It is a big negative. We use it, though, but we only use it for text chat.
It's great for that, and I do love it.
Yep. Yeah, I love it for that. Nom, what are your thoughts on
Oh,
Discord
well,
for
but
voice?
Discord, its biggest thing to me is that it's on the one positive is that the user base, a good chance anybody coming in's already got Discord.
Yep.
Very
These
true.
days, it's very good buy-in there. Because people are very resistant these days. Oh, I got to run one more app on my system. You get that pushback. But with Discord, of all these choices, it's the least pushback on that.
Yeah, I what Dome said is absolutely right. The other thing I'll point out is it is amongst the top 4 the easiest to set up. Ungodly simple. It takes you 10 seconds to establish a Discord server for yourself.
Easy
Yeah.
button
shared.
allure is definitely
It
there.
is easy. Yeah.
And if you're a small org that's only got 25 members, it's really attractive.
Yep.
Really, really attractive from a cost perspective and all that. So let's move on to TeamSpeak. And I'm going to give my rant. First off, the thing to keep in mind is TeamSpeak is free if you host it yourself for 32 users. But if you want to go past 32 users, you either have to jump through massive hoops to get a non-profit license from them, or you have to go, or you have to rent it from somewhere where they're going to charge you an arm and a leg per slot. More than $1 per member per slot per month is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and we used to use TeamSpeak, and I miss it. I like the TeamSpeak interface a lot better than what we currently use today. But there's this other big problem. If you get big, TeamSpeak will not sell you a license for more than 1,024 slots. And the reason that they won't is, quote, our server won't even run with 1,000 people connected at the same time. We can't sell you a license for 5,000, unquote. So, that's a problem for ADI because we have 6,300 members and we're growing. But for a lot of orgs, it's not. But the cost in the server setup and maintaining the server and all that stuff, there's cost associated with it. I think there are features on TeamSpeak, though, like Channel Commander, which allow you to talk to other people outside of your channel that you can't do in Discord easily, that make it attractive for a medium-sized gaming clan, don't you guys think?
Yeah. The one thing I would be cautious about when it comes to it, it's proprietary software again. Same problem we had we mentioned previously. So you're kind of stuck with what they have. The some concerns of security have been voiced. I have run across it. I have TS. We're talking about TS3 here. Keep in mind, we're talking about version 3, not the predecessors. But I have read of security concerns with TeamSpeak 3.
Well, you have to be very careful where you download the binary from because there's a lot of hacked binaries out there.
Yep.
So, but TeamSpeak is a viable alternative if you're never going to need more than 500 slots. We would have problems with that. Today we were using 200 roughly slots today on our Mumble server. So that would, and the game's not even out yet. And we'll see what tonight looks like when we get to the membership meeting. We could very well break 200. So
yeah, I mean, Jay, you stole pretty much everything I was going to say. TeamSpeak is like my preferred voice chatting app, but those price changes that they went through not too long ago kind of, put a squash on it if you got anything more than, like you said, like 500 users or so.
Well, getting the nonprofit license, they've drastically increased the hoops you have to jump through. We couldn't do it today.
Right,
but
exactly.
TeamSpeak, thing is, they've been considered the de facto standard for a long while there for a lot of people. On when people playing WoW, certain groups, TeamSpeak is what they would use, and just so that's the market working there. They know they got that that recognition, so they raise their prices. That's not that surprising, but
I don't think so. I think they're losing market share at this point.
Are they?
Because yeah, they're hurting real bad. They're actively shopping for a buyer for the company, is my understanding.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I mean, they could go under at any point
on market share. But I mean, our specific use case probably falls outside of their target market, because I don't think they're targeting 6,000 user player orgs. I think their target market's probably in the, I don't know, anywhere
50
up,
to 100.
Anywhere up to 50 or 100, maybe even 200 players at the most. But most games don't go beyond 200 players at the max. I mean, this game is one of the few games that is going to be able to support orgs of this size.
Yeah. And then finally we come to Mumble, which is what we picked at ADI a long time ago. And there are things that we don't like about Mumble. Mumble, is not as pretty. Its interface, even though they just released the new 1.3 version that had been in beta for like 5 years, is dated looking. And there are the ACLs, the permissioning system on it is really complicated. But the reality is that there's no other voice system out there that can put thousands of people on a single voice server and has a track record to do it. If there is, somebody tell me what it is, because I'd love to look at it. We
Right.
moved from TeamSpeak when we had 300 members, I think, something like that. Shepard, you were around back then.
Yeah.
When we did the move.
I came on just after you guys moved, because I remember when by the way, Gunny was my recruiter. I always remember.
Oh, okay.
My recruiter was. But when I first got onboarded, I was still seeing all the signs and everything that said, "Don't forget, we've switched from TeamSpeak to Mumble." And for me, fortunately, I didn't have anything to forget because I just hopped on the Mumble server.
That's true. Yep. But we went to Mumble, and it's great in the respect that, for mission running, we have the ability to whisper across groups of channels and things like that so that we can communicate, but still separate up the different teams so they can chat back and forth without hogging up everybody. Go ahead, Jolly.
The prize system is critical. And it's not a matter of I've got my room I can talk to and then a button I can push, talk to a different room. You can set up as many pride keys as you want. I've set up over 6 before in the past to run operations, and it works out just fine. It wasn't complex at all. One thing I will knock Mumble a little bit on, it has a wizard to set up. That's true. But it can be a bit complex. It's easy to make a mistake. You select the wrong thing on a pull down window. You're kind of dorked there for a while. We know this for a fact because we have to help people set up their Mumble fairly often.
Yes, we do. It's not as user friendly by any stretch, but there's no other voice server out there that shows that has had 5,000 and 6,000 people connected to a voice server, all playing a game, working together, other than Mumble.
It has good latency too compared to the others.
It does, and better audio. I don't hardly ever have to go in and adjust individual audio levels.
Ventrilo was pretty good for me. I was really happy with the audio on it, but it had more lag than Mumble does.
I agree completely.
Yeah, if you guys are out there and you're kind of shying away because you've had 1 or 2 technical difficulties with Mumble, please don't feel bad, because I've been yelled at by Dixon and some other folks about my certifications more than once in the past, and it's not user friendly and as self evident as Dixon would like you to believe. Just kidding. Sorry, Dixon.
The security, though, is a positive behind Mumble itself. The certification process is a positive as opposed to a negative. Yeah, it adds some complexity, but it's a positive overall.
I agree completely.
There's also the one thing I'd like to point out when we're talking about Mumble is the one thing we run into is getting people who sometimes downloaded the wrong installer or like they downloaded, because you need to get it from mumble.info. That's the official site.
Yeah, don't go to mumble.com.
No, don't get it from them. They've had, I don't think they currently do, but they've had a history of putting kind of adware, spyware stuff into it. So you don't want to go there.
And hackware and
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's quite
computerware.
that. Yeah, not good stuff.
I agree completely. Don't go to mumble.info. That's one of those weird ones. So guys, that's kind of our take on voice servers for orgs and why we picked what we picked. And I'm sure there's people out there that'll tell you why we're wrong, but that's going to be one of those personal preferences. But it's likely to be one of 3 candidates: Discord, Mumble, TeamSpeak, and Ventrilo thrown in there if that just seems to be something that you're very familiar with and happy with.
And guys, don't forget, Star Citizen might actually come up with a decent in-game voice solution. that may cause us to say, bye, Mumble. We're just going to be inside Star Citizen.
That's never going to happen.
I just wanted Jay to get upset at least one time on the
Just
show.
not going to happen. We will always use Mumble, even if they put in the perfect radio system, communication system in Star Citizen. In ADI, being on Mumble while you're playing Star Citizen's got to be a requirement, because what if there's a problem? You need to be able to communicate in a pinch.
Well, we don't know if this is going to hold. I wouldn't mind seeing something along the lines of Task Force Radio that could be used in this game itself. But
agree completely.
I dream.
Or build it into the game.
Yep.
But we would still use Mumble for missions, even if you just sat in there and had yourself muted.
Jolly, you should offer CIG a consult or something to help them bring this into the game, man.
Shh, don't talk about that. We're not supposed to talk about that right now.
Oh, no.
Don't let the cat out of the bag. Okay, anyhow. Let's go to viewer questions and comments. So, guys, we prefer that you put your comments in our Discord server, which is going to be discord.hangarready.com. I'm going to put that in the Hangar Ready chat, or in the Twitch chat, excuse me. So here we go. Discord.hangarready.com. There we go. That should be clickable. Is it? Yeah, it's clickable. Hopefully somebody will follow that. So guys, if you have questions or comments that you would like for us to read, go ahead and type them in our general chat in Discord, and we'll go ahead and answer those questions for you. We've got about 10 minutes that we're going to spend on that, and then we're going to call the show. So
I guarantee that they're going to be the right answers, but we'll give you an answer.
Oh, they will be the right answers, always. We can guarantee they will be the right answers. So anybody that has any questions or comments or concerns, anything like that, tell us that we're awful, tell us everything's that this is no good. Go ahead. We're big boys. We can take it.
Jay, what would be the right answer for somebody that says that we're awful?
Well, the truth is they may be right. This is the first time that we've ever done this, and we may suck at it. I don't know.
That's the wrong answer, Jay. You just gave the wrong answer.
That could be the right answer. I mean, the God honest truth.
Oh, man. Who's first?
Okay, so Dreamlord is asking for voice chat. Have you guys thought about coding something specially for your org? Now, first off, we're a large org. 6,300 members. We have over 100 staff. So that would be something that we potentially could look at. I would say, but that's a huge project. You're talking about, 10 or 12 programmers working on that for 2 years and then having to maintain it. It would be nuts to code your own voice system. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Yeah, it would, unless
it's a game. We're supposed to be gaming.
Well, we got to be careful here. We do have the admin tools, so we do take our gaming pretty seriously.
What's that?
But no, I think that it would be a bridge too far to look at anybody to code their own. But you never know. You may find some enterprising guys that come up with TFR for Star Citizen. I could see that happening. But having an org roll it themselves, that would be a bridge that would be pretty hard.
I see one. Jay, Foga asks if he puts a line of AMD CPUs across a doorway, can Jay still cross the threshold? Yes. So Jay, does AMD processors prevent you from stepping over them?
I will say I probably own more AMD processors than any 3 people watching this podcast put together.
Any 3 people? That is pretty specific.
I would say that. And maybe more. Maybe any. I don't want to say any 10 because that might happen. But I mean, I own hundreds of AMD CPU cores. Hundreds of them in server farms.
I could see the gears inside Jay's head turning. Any 3 people? Yeah.
Yeah, the chances that anybody's got as many of these CPU cores as I do would be pretty slim. But yeah, we've got a bunch. I mean, tons and tons and tons. And I love them, but they're good at when you need to throw hardware at something, and it's very multi-threaded.
Well, it definitely isn't me because I started Star Citizen back in 2015 with an old Phenom 2.
And we made a lot of fun of you then.
And I did get made fun of quite a bit, unfortunately. But yeah, it was, and it was definitely evident. I was having some serious frame issues in game. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we close out for the night?
This is your chance.
Yeah, Focus saying he's got 10 or 15 CPUs.
Don't miss it.
I've got more than that here at the house, let alone at the data center. So, yeah, no. But I appreciate the thought. When I say hundreds, I mean hundreds.
Good game, Foga. Good game.
So, anyhow, give them just a second. So how do you guys think this went tonight? Jolly, what are your thoughts on tonight's discussion? And did you have fun? And did we suck at it too bad?
Fun? No.
No fun.
Yeah, it was good discussion, stuff like that. I cannot profess to be an AMD fan. I've only owned Intel chips. As for flexing on devices, if all you want to do is get a computer that's good for today and not 2 years from now, go low. I prefer not to.
I'm going to be honest. My recommendation for somebody building a computer, and we can go into this at a later show, is to focus on upgrading every 2 to 3 years and spending somewhere in the $1,200 range if you could get away with it.
That's reasonable.
I will
That
say
seems-
it did cost me almost very close to $1,200 to build the PC that I have right now. So
Yeah, and if you replace it every 2.5 to 3 years, you'll be better off than somebody that buys a $2,500 computer every 5 years.
right, and if you're building your own computer, you're already ahead of the game. Better to pay $1,200 to build your computer than $6,000 going to the Dell website.
Be careful. Jolly may get offended with that.
Oh no! We'll
I-
build one for you, Jolly. You're in the best org for that.
A piece of crap that'll fall apart on me because it won't be done right. I'll pass.
But
What
and
warranties
we
do you
even
offer?
we even offer service plan, Jolly. Jay is 24/7.
No, I'm not. Don't do that to me.
If you're watching, Jay is 24/7. He will answer
Yeah.
any
Anybody
computer
in the
question.
organization, at symbol JAYC, he loves them.
Now, Jolly, I did offer to
Yes, you
video
did.
chat
You
with you
absolutely
and build
did.
it. And I am, when this next computer gets replaced, I've offered to get a plane ticket if you tell me long enough, and I'll come out for the weekend and we'll build it together. So just for the record,
And Jolly,
I did
then
make
you'll
that
know how
offer.
to build your own. So
Well,
Can't
I
be-
keep telling him that it's Lego blocks. If this guy flew helicopters in the military. Trust me, building a PC is cake
And
compared
then
to
I
that.
sit there and I read in the tech room about guys saying, "Oh man, the BIOS isn't working. Oh, what I do wrong on this one? What I do wrong on that
Well,
one?"
that's because they're doing stuff that they're monkeying with it. If you just put
And
it together and
wouldn't.
yeah, if
somebody
you
told
don't want to overclock, Jolly, it's especially nowadays, it's almost impossible to screw it up if you if you get the right gear. Back in the late 90s, 2000s, it was very hard to put together a computer in today's terms, but today it's just too easy.
we have one other question here. Humgo is asking, do we think players will be able to make real money in Star Citizen?
Ooh.
I think
think
it's
the
going to
answer-
be an issue. I
I think it's going to be yes. There's no question about it. There will be Chinese gold farmers in Star Citizen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about was gold farming. That's the route people are going to go for.
Yeah, without a doubt, 100%. There will be Chinese gold farmers. No way around it.
well, maybe
Jolly,
I don't know.
anybody disagree?
I don't disagree. I think there's going to be that, that eternal battle of how do you counter all the Chinese gold farmers, and then CIG is going to come up with a solution. Then you're going to see the Chinese gold farmers work their way around it, and it's going to be this game of cat and mouse that they play.
Well, seeing as CIG is selling currency and they plan to do that in game, I don't think there is a cat and mouse, because at the end of the day, the cost for CIG to sell you 1,000 UEC credits is just moving the electrons around on their website. So the gold farmers are going to have to come in under that by a fairly substantial amount.
Well, that's true. I wasn't expecting them to enable that when the game launches, just because
They
you're
will.
gonna have-
They've they've said that they're going to sell currency even as the game after the game launches.
Yeah,
There
you're gonna-
might be a limit per time period. They already raised the. There used to be a cap on how much you could have.
Yep.
They removed the cap when they liquidated the Voyager Direct store and allowed people to start trading stuff back in for UEC. But there may be a per month you can only buy so much with real money.
Well, this
Yeah.
would be a great topic for a next episode because I think
Yeah.
that you're going to have all of the pay-to-win crybabies come forth, and as one voice, they will come and shout their concerns. Pay to win, pay to win.
I agree. So these are some great questions. Sinjo's asking water coolers or air coolers. Water cooling works better always, but cost-wise, a really good air cooler or an inexpensive but quality all-in-one is the way to go. Guys, I hate to do this. We ran over on the show. We're 10 minutes past when we were going to run the show. So I really appreciate, we'll answer all these questions offline in Discord. We'll use them to build some discussions for the next show. Again, our second episode is going to be October 19th at 8 p.m. It's definitely going to be Jolly and I, because I've already conned Jolly into saying yes. And we'll have hopefully 2 new guests on to discuss with us. If not, we'll pull 1 or 2 of these guys back. So thank you very much. The whole purpose of this is to look at Star Citizen from a different angle. We're going to talk about the technology. We're going to talk about the controllers. We're going to talk about the gameplay, not from a solo perspective, but from an organized team perspective. And we're going to give you pointers on how to run an org and how you organize and do different things, how you run missions. ADI currently runs missions that have 40 to 50 players, and if the servers allowed more players, we'd run bigger missions. So, there's some stuff that we can bring down that we're willing to hand out and kind of help you. So hopefully you found this useful. If you did, we have a Facebook and Twitter page. Go ahead and follow both of those. The links are below in Twitch. Obviously, join our Discord at discord.hangarready.com and come chat with us through the week. We'd love that. Maybe even if you run your own org or you're a specialist in some area, we might even have you on as a co-host for a segment or 2. So we have some really cool technology here that allows us to do some stuff that others really aren't able to. And, we're really excited about doing this once a month. So hopefully you'll join us. Hopefully you liked it. Smash the thumbs up button or whatever it is you do on Twitch.
Like, subscribe, notify.
Yeah, there we go. We've also got a YouTube channel. We're going to put this episode up on YouTube and make it searchable as well. So, Jolly, anything you want to add before we cut out?
Nothing additional. Thanks, Jay.
Okay. And what about you, Nam? Anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing getting more in depth on the gaming questions. And I hope I didn't cut you too deep with the flex comment there, Jolly. Hey, I'm fine with flex as long as you admit it.
32 RAM. Yeah, baby.
32 gigs of RAM.
Aren't too.
Can I have a trophy too, Jolly?
No,
Please.
Okay, Shepard, any last words, and then we'll head on out.
I just want to apologize for everybody for having to stare at me for an hour. Other than that, that's
And being
really all
out
I
of
got.
desync because there's something wrong with your setup.
all of my audio and desync issues and everything. I apologize.
Guys, tell us how it was. I know we're still working the kinks out of this new studio, so let us know if we had massive technical problems. Tell us about it in the comments. Guys, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. For those ADI members that are watching, we'll see you at 8 o'clock for the ADI US membership meeting. And otherwise, we'll see everybody else back here October 19th at 8 p.m. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.
See you in the verse.
See you in the verse.
Bye.